We're going to get started with AI. If I could get your attention, Michael. Shh. So if I could ask Ankur, Walt, MJ, and Christopher to come up. We're going to start, and then we're going to follow it at 1:30. We're going to talk about space and dual use. I mean, I can't keep track of the news. I don't know if we're entering the war against Iran or not, but we're part of a couple wars on different fronts, so that's a theme. Space, everyone's talking about space, going and mining minerals on the moon and the rest, helium, data mining. We got some OGs in the room here, which I met Lisa from Esther Dyson. If you want to know space, you have to know Lisa Rich. And Esther, if you don't know, Esther Dyson, her father was part of the Oppenheim project, the number 2, and she plans to retire on Mars. That's right. And then we're going to talk about other industries. With the echoes. Echo. And then we finish with philanthropy and next gens, and how to optimize how we do impact investing, think about philanthropy and all the rest. And then we go to Amazon, we go to the water. I guess you can see the water still. I'm going to pass it over to you, Chris. You can introduce the panel, and I think you got a really interesting group here. Just no women, but we'll just women speak up and chime in. This is a town hall spirit here. Okay, over to you.
I'm excited to be here with these panelists. There's multi-decades of experience in AI, and I know we have a lot to talk about. We'll just start with a round of intros. Ankur, if you want to start, and then we'll just go down the line. Just introduce yourself.
Hello. This is Ankur, and I've been with Microsoft for 2 decades, 20 years, working in the space of building high-scale AI services before AI was as popular. So, spent a decade in Bing and almost a decade in building AI in Office, and lately leading the relevance of M365 Copilot.
My name is MJ Gottlieb. I am not with Microsoft. Co-founder and CEO of Lucid App, a community of about 350,000 members in sobriety. We're a sobriety and addiction app. And we've been, over the last year and a half, been developing AI technologies to try to better service our user base with regard to predictive relapse modeling to prevent them, being that 80 to 90% of people in sobriety will very sadly relapse.
Hi, my name is Walt Gall. I've been in the AI machine learning space for almost 20 years. Started off in biotech, medical devices, and moved into VC advising, and then moved into deep tech, both AI software for consumer devices as well as enterprise. Was a part of a graph reasoning startup early in my career that got acquired by Intel, was part of their AI division. That's where I learned a little bit about hardware. Then moved into Facebook AI, their AR VR division with the assistant team, and then Amazon, Alexa AI. And so learned how to scale in those companies. But a startup entrepreneur, just exited an AI chip neuromorphic company as it relates to space and national security. So learned a lot about that over the last 3 years. And now I'm starting my new company where we're building out next-gen, small to medium-sized AI data centers, but it's private AI fabric. What that means is dedicated infrastructure for private AI workloads for national security, as well as for commercial enterprise. Getting ready for the post-quantum era, which I'll probably talk about a little bit here today. Thank you.
The next question is going to be, a little bit more open-ended, so you guys can, take it in whatever direction you want. But very curious on maybe what scares or excites you the most about artificial intelligence today.
Yeah, I think the exciting part is probably now anything I'll say is something that probably is like well known and beaming in everyone's heads, right? Like in how anywhere and everywhere AI is going to augment. I think it's going to become just an underpin like electricity or computers have been, right? Like in automating and augmenting every workflow that human beings work and operate on. I think the scary part to me is I'm not a believer of like those doomsdays that AI will take over. I think it's going to be, I think what we need to be scared more of is whose hands it might be and then what they are going to go do with it, which is true for any technology, right? Like, I mean, you can think of any, like, even as basic thing as electricity or nuclear power. Like, I mean, I think it's about who gets to use it, whether you're using it for making unlimited power or are you using it for making a bomb, right? So I think that's, and even beyond these extremes, I think even beyond, let's say, just the malicious uses, even when it is well-intentioned, there is a high chance that if not done well, it can have basically a big impact. And as humans, we'll all make mistakes. Just that, like, the bigger the technology, the impact of that can be much bigger, right? Like, I mean, if I make a mistake while walking, probably I'll hurt myself. If I make a mistake while driving a car, right, I'll probably have a chance to hurt. If I make a mistake while driving an airplane, I can actually kill hundreds of lives, right? So I think that's basically the fear, that as humans, even with best intentions, we will make mistakes, right? We can have this biased data that can go in, which can create, like, again, like if I have an unconscious bias, I'll probably can at best hurt people who are around me, right? But if this technology is what you feed into them is what they will, right? Like similar, like, I mean, think social media, right? Like, I mean, there are 100 pros we can count, but we can all also relate to the lot of deficiencies it has created in society. So I think that's what we'll have to be super, super watchful for.
You did the perfect segue with MJ.
Yeah, I'll second what. Well, actually, Teal, do you want to play that thing? It's 1 minute. I think
Commercial break.
it's commercial break. No, this is, you'll get it, and I'll kind of talk on top of it when it's done. Yeah, so, you know, to your point, you're right on the money. Right on the money. Yeah. So as far as when AI makes mistakes, we talked about in Silicon Valley that I think Apple made a mistake and they had to kind of shut it down for a couple days. They were giving people the wrong flight information or whatever it is. When it comes to addiction, you give the wrong information, people die. So when we're training Sam, sobriety and addiction mentor, to try to make Sam be that empathetic avatar to help you stay on track with your sobriety, you give the wrong information, people die, right? So the same thing that excites me, which is the power to help, is the same thing that scares the out of me, which is the power to actually, in my case, kill.
Meet Sam, the newest technology from Lucid that helps you stay sober, one day at a time. Crafted for your unique journey, Sam offers real-time progress reports and check-ins. It's your dedicated 24/7 sobriety mentor, now integrated with AI to help you reflect, grow, and stay committed to your sobriety.
Hey, I noticed you're near a bar you used to visit. How are you feeling right now?
Honestly, kind of anxious. Had a tough day.
Totally get that. Want to do a quick breathing session together or talk it out?
Breathing sounds good.
Got you. Let's slow it down together. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4.
With Sam, you're charting a brighter, sober future, knowing you're never walking alone.
Wow, you put a mix on that. Wow, I got to think about that. I'm gonna do the mix for the investors. But yeah, so that's the thing, right? Like, AI in the wrong hands can be absolutely devastating, right? Not everybody knows. Most of the people know that I was once a hopeless drug addict, right? Thinking that there was no hope for me to come to the other side. And so we need to get the information to the 90+ 90+% of people who don't want to admit that they need help because of the shame and guilt and stigma associated with addiction. So that's why we created an avatar to be an empathetic avatar, to be your non-judgmental best friend, to walk you one step at a time. You can spend all night talking to Sam, asking Sam's help. And addiction is a disease of isolation. So this is what we've been doing, training Sam for the last 8-9 months to try to really create the best avatar that we can to walk them through their sobriety. Very skeptical of AI for the reasons that we spoke about. There's this very specific way people have been getting sober for hundreds of years, pre-AA and ACA. And you know, and those principles, so I always say the worst thing that can ever happen as a non-alcoholic to give advice to an alcoholic. There's a saying, those amongst us, no explanation is necessary. Those not amongst us, no explanation is possible, right? And so if you were to ask Grok or whoever it is, or OpenAI, how do I get sober? Unfortunately, though well-intentioned, you're going to get the wrong answer. And so it's our responsibility to show people how people have been getting sober and staying sober for hundreds of years.
Amazing.
I just echoing some of the comments. I think we have to really maintain sort of international goodwill to be able to mitigate some of these risks as it relates to AI getting into the wrong hands. I think we need really robust governance structures and regulations that need to be taken seriously by the business and governments that sort of abide by those. When I was at Intel, I was shadowing an executive on AI for Good, and was really grateful for a lot of international cooperation at implementing AI applications to really do good things in the world, like what you're doing with Lucid. So I'm pretty optimistic about these things, but we do have to maintain really good relationships with our allies in order to actually pull that off successfully and sustainably. The good part that I started out as a systems biologist, turned business product leader, and now I'm building AI data centers. But what's common throughout the whole sort of thread is what William Wordsworth said is like, look to nature as your teacher. So I've been working in the biologically inspired computing space for some time, and what we're all striving for is contextual intelligence. Like how do we build out sustainable systems that really understand context, really understand what we used to call in medicine an N of one, like personalization. So not everybody got to a really sort of nadir, as far as a really dark space. Everyone's situation and environment is different. So medical errors was mentioned earlier. There's all sorts of factors that culminate and lead to that. So really understanding just temporal sort of segments of events and different sort of red flags or yellow flags that can be detected by AI, I think is a real promising piece. And so really applaud what you're doing there. But I think I took a detour from healthcare because healthcare is notoriously a little bit of a laggard when it comes to technologies. And I went into deep tech and but I'd love to come full circle back to that, especially when you see quantum computing coming online, as well as AI technology, sort of a hybrid system. So what we can do in biology and medicine and other areas, I think is really a promising horizon for us.
I want to dig deeper on each of your areas of expertise. Ankar, you're at Microsoft, been at Microsoft for a while now, and you work on Copilot. As Microsoft is embedding AI into every product that you use today, but everybody also has access to similar models. Every large enterprise does. How do you see defensibility playing out there long term?
Yeah, I think I do agree that models eventually will become a commodity, right? And the applications will be the king, right? Like actually just like MJ said, I think I foresee what's basically, and Microsoft has always been a platform company, right? Like, I mean, it has never said, hey, I'll build it all. I'll enable others to build on top of the solution. So I think, as Satya also puts it, like the Copilot is going to be the UX for AI, right? So I think the power here will be the ecosystem. Let's say now someone who knows much better on how to stay sober, right? These large models are powerful, and I think what they had done is democratize that everyone doesn't have to now build a model from scratch. In the old traditional AI, that's what would have happened. So there is a single model, but how do you bring the domain context? How do you bring the domain knowledge into it, right? That'll create some very, very powerful verticals, right? Be it like I think specific things that we talked, or someone wanting to create earnings report for their company, right? Like all of these legal contracts, like I think they know what is a good legal contract, like what it should have and what it shouldn't have, right? Like, so I think that like models can probably take you 80%, right? In some cases, maybe they're even poorer than 80%. But I think that last 90, 95, I think that's basically where I see the power of Microsoft and the ecosystem, the companies it's working with, like its tenants being able to add their own logic, their own LOBs, their even sub-agents, right? Which these central models can basically delegate the problems to, and hence build much more powerful systems. I think that's basically where we will soon ourselves be seeing. So I think the domain experts need to be brought in. I think that's to me is going to be one big fundamental shift, and it's basically happening. I think the more people change their, it's mostly going to be an adaptation on how we think, not necessarily the what we do. I think it's going to be how we do is going to be different.
And just a quick follow-up on that. Copilot, I mean, millions of people use Copilot, right? And now we have MCPs, multi-agent orchestration.
Yes.
How do you see large enterprises using Microsoft products to completely transform their business models today? What's the biggest change you've seen there?
Yeah, so I think it's basically, they're very related to what I was saying, right? Like, I mean, these MCPs or A2A protocols, right? Like, this is basically in some ways saying, like AI will enable you to build your workflows or your domain knowledge, right? Wrap that into a piece of intelligence that can help automate a bunch of those. And then the second power is that you can connect it to this much powerful central intelligence, right? And work with this. So what I think what I'll see these businesses should be doing, I think, is twofold. One, start to adopt AI for your own productivity. This is not even like, I mean, what you present to your customer, right? For your own self, whether like, I mean, in whatever job function you are, right? Like, I mean, sales, coding, right? Any legal, anything that you're doing, see in inner side, like on your workflows, what can you automate? The second is, I think, what you can basically say, hey, how can I reduce errors or improve quality on what I'm serving to my customers? So I think that's basically how I feel that the transformation will start to happen, that how can I give like n times more what I could give to my customer at much, much cheaper cost by augmenting my intelligence along with the Microsoft's intelligence.
And knowing that, MJ, I mean, how did you, what was your decision on integrating? You've been building this platform for many years now. What was your decision like integrating AI in like building SAM out for the sober community?
So if we look at it statistically, 300 million people suffering from alcohol use disorder, 38% of adult Americans suffering from some illicit substance use, $1.5 trillion lost productivity in the workplace. That's the reason, right? 232 million missed work days. Alcohol is the #1 problem across all employee workforces. There's a major effing problem, right? And so we needed to build the solution. I will say something just to provide clarity. Sometimes people look at me as the anti-CEO because I always kind of push against short-term revenue. I need the users and I need the data, okay? I come from the business world. I understand shareholder return But I need the users, I need the data. We need to understand the trend lines of why people are dying. We need to educate people now with fentanyl and our strained relationship with China, right? We need to educate people. We need data. We need our users using the data instead of charging them so I can let our investors know we made X amount of dollars this month. The data is too important. The escalation of the user base is too important. That was a positive spin. Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about sober dating.
Yeah. So we have about 100. So we have 180,000 members on the community side, and we Lucid Sober Dating, which recently launched, has about 175,000 new members. People think it's a great idea. No, it's not a great idea. People were when I was dating, the woman would invariably say, "Oh my God, you don't drink. How are we going to have any fun? Can't you have just one drink?" Now, being that recovery is my life as a vocation and avocation, I didn't drink, but my friends were drinking, and then using drugs, and then dying. Okay, like you guys may say, dying? Yes. Comas, all this stuff, right? And so we tried to create, we wanted to create a safe and supportive space for people to connect and engage, because it's life or death. That person pushes you, you have the social anxiety, okay, and suddenly you take that drink. And we talked about brain health in one of the last panels. I just did a series with Brain Tap, that's the top brain fitness app in the world. So Dr. Porter, who's the founder, I just did a series with him, and we're incorporating a Lucid series to all of their members, where he's doing a whole series on social anxiety, right? To try to get people off that whole social anxiety. So now we're taking Sam into the dating to try to create an empathetic character to kind of guide people through that. And so when you look at the sobriety ecosystem, what does it mean to live a sober life? And when we build Lucid, we say, okay, if there's 8 pieces of the pie, people build businesses and they say, be good at just one thing. Well, if all 8 pieces of the slice need to be addressed for people not to die, Lucid needs to be involved in all of them. That's why we've partnered with 36 brands in the sobriety and wellness space to make sure that we're giving products and services and showing people all the various components that it takes to live not just a sober life, but a wonderful life of sobriety.
Any fun stories? Any marriages come popping out of that?
Yeah, I mean, we've made so far 195,000 people have connected, you know, and again, we now need to grow the user base, because even though we own the top position in sober dating and we own the market share, we've only hit less than 1% of our market share, hence user acquisition, right? I will say one last thing. Google's Sam Altman and some of the things that he talked about, the importance of user acquisition. Google Mark Zuckerberg, when they were forcing him to monetize so many years ago, and he says, I'm going to focus on 3 things: user acquisition, and user acquisition. I think he played a pretty good hand.
Let's give it up one time for the sober community. Come on. That's good.
We are a for-profit. I'm glad you mentioned that. One of my favorite books is called Do the Kind Thing by Lebetsky from Kind Bars. And he calls his company Not Just for Profit, right? Lucid is 100% free for anybody who's struggling. We made that commitment back during COVID, when we found a member who had just overdosed and woken up in a hospital bed and said, I need help. And had we been $1, that person would never have gotten the help they need. So the SAM technology, which is $20 a month, doesn't sound like a lot of money, but for a lot of people, you blow up your lives in addiction and it's all the money in the world, right? And so we said, okay, well, how can we create a way to make sure that every single Lucid member that ever needs our technology gets access to it, right? So we're now going after the EAP programs and employee workforces and large corporations to pick up SAM, so that way the person who needs it at $20 doesn't have to pay for it. We've also created a scholarship program, so anybody who does have the financial wherewithal can gift someone a SAM scholarship, and if the person doesn't get any of that, they send us a financial hardship letter, and we frickin' give it to them anyway. So that's the way that we're approaching it, because it's my belief that I had a nonprofit for many, many years, and I am a huge philanthropy guy. I just had so many restrictions of what I could do and what I couldn't do. And as a for-profit company, I have such a greater ability to move around than I did when I had my 501c3. And so we want to use these tools, and we want to grow, and we're a much better positioned as a for-profit company.
Amazing. I want to get to Walt and your next generation data centers. Data centers have been obviously a hot topic for many years now, but there's obviously risk involved with AI workloads coming on board, and then quantum in a few years. Everybody talks about quantum. It's always a decade away, but maybe not anymore. Who knows? How's the risk landscape changing there?
So I think on a few levels it's changing. With generative AI and other similar workloads, the way we actually are expanding what we call the threat surface in cybersecurity is expanding exponentially. And what I mean by that is, if you look at how an AI model is actually trained and moved into production, it is quite vast as far as how compartmentalized and distributed and all the API calls, et cetera, that's going on through the systems of systems. And so that just creates risk as it relates to different cyber threats or vulnerabilities. Issue defect resolution on the hardware, software, electronic side can also create cyber vulnerabilities. So you need to have a very data-centric sort of view on being able to detect, classify, resolve as far as white box transparency, being able to resolve it as far as root cause it, and actually keep moving and keep the performance of the system moving, but also keep everybody safe as far as their devices and that sort of thing. Quantum computing, what would take thousands of years of conventional computers to break our cryptography today, only takes literally hours to days for a quantum computer. So that is the threat that we're looking at the national security level, and again internationally with cybersecurity alliances that are already put in place. That's what we have to look at. And so private AI workloads are going to become important. Right now, everything with the hyperscalers is done through the public internet, even though there is some privacy policies implemented in virtual environments. There are a lot of risk that the cyber hacks are very fully aware of. So I think the human in the loop piece is a common thread here. Copilot, Lucid, cybersecurity. You have to humanize AI. You have to have that human in the loop. There's a military decision quality framework. I'm not from the military, but it's a decision quality framework I've come across in my career. Observe, orient, decide, act. And I think as long as we maintain a humanized mechanism throughout all these different applications, where there is a human in the loop maintained, that's going to be a critical piece. We want to make that efficient and productive and practical, right, and impactful. But I think that applies to each of our ventures here. And I would just echo the importance of that.
I hate to say it, how we say there's an AI for that?
Yeah.
I think the AI is the thing there's a human for that.
It's going to have to look at humankind to really put in the guardrails and the checkpoints and the mechanisms to make sure that it remains humanized, right? We created it. We need to sort of define how it expands and improves everyone's lives.
And we still need jobs, right?
Yeah, that's part of the American dream and other parts of the world.
I was going to say, I always start and I say, who's been affected by addiction? Put your hands up. And normally 90% of the people raise their hands. And the other 10%, and it happened last night, it happens every time, the other 10%, they all pulled me aside and said, listen, yeah, it happened to me, but I didn't want to raise my hand. Okay? So talk about, so building that empathetic user persona where you don't want to say you need help. So you have Sam there where you know that Sam you could talk to all night, and Sam's not going to call your buddy and say, oh my God, can you believe that he just relapsed again? He had 18 days sober, what an idiot. No, we need to build that human element, and with addiction, being that the stigma of shame is preventing tens of millions of people from getting the help they need, this is where we can use AI and build an empathetic user persona that you can talk to all night if you don't want to talk to anyone else because you're afraid of being judged.
I think maybe I'll add just one line to just the need for human in the loop. I mean, I'll say that's why we call it co-pilot and not autopilot.
There you go.
Yeah.
Mark,
Love that.
you have time for one or two questions, or? Yeah. Anybody have any questions? We have an expert from Microsoft, building next-gen Jadis. Yep, go ahead.
Actually, you've asked a lot of questions. We have a rule at 361. If you're new, if you have new questions, come. You understand, Samir, right? I like questions, but just if we have a second question, we bring people into a circle.
Fair enough. I'm actually on the same theme. Like, I think about the general trend towards separation and disconnection between humans, at least in the United States, if not worldwide. And I wonder how you all think about whether, I mean, I love all the premise of that, right? But ultimately, are you aiming for a future in which humans maintain or increase reconnection with other humans? Or do you see AI as a substitute relationship that fills that need?
That's a fantastic question. So the opposite of addiction is connection. Has anybody ever seen Rat Park? The example of Rat Park? They put a rat in a cage. They have the water and the drug water, and the rat hits the drug water every time until the rat dies. And then they create Rat Park, where they have a community of rats, and they touch the drug water and the regular water, and they never go back to the drug water. That's the power of community. And so to your point, the whole purpose of SAM is to push people back to community, right? Because everybody thinks they're going to be judged. And my friends, all my friends that died of addiction because they were afraid to come back, need to know, and Sam needs to tell them, we love you, we understand, please come back. We understand exactly what you've been through. And to a non-addict will never understand that. So we use SAM to push people back, to create that common bond back to community, because community is the answer, always has been. Yep.
Yeah, I think, AI should all be about taking away the drudgery to give you more time to spend time with your family and loved ones. So that should be the goal.
Other questions? So I'm just mindful we're also trying to stay on track, and I look at the weather, and I want to be out there in the boat.
Mine's really brief. You discussed this in San Francisco as well, but the evolution of AI, your thoughts around with Copilot to Gen AI, Super AI, what's happening? And there was a comment made in someone on the panel in San Francisco that said, in the past with tech ventures, you had this advantage of building something, and it will take others maybe 12 months, 18 months, 24 months to catch up with you. But now you could build something wonderful, and within weeks, someone has copied you, and you're out of business. I saw an article the other day. It said 100 AI companies are out of business just because of OpenAI's next feature. So any thoughts around that, about protecting yourself, staying ahead of competition, what we should be aware of?
Yeah, I think we used to have this thing called failing fast. I think in this world, you need fail forward, so that even if that idea per se or what the product per se gets replaced, but what you built in process is future proof, right? Is something that you can build something more on top of, right? So don't push yourself in a direction that hey, if this thing gets replaced, then I did all of this for nothing. I think so that'll be my thought, right? Like, I mean, as we are also, even as a large company, we are also in the space where you can easily get like outsmarted by sometimes your own fellow teams because they did something, invented something which makes your effort not as useful, but build things in a way that you can do other advancements using that.
So, but it would be really, I'm just imagining Microsoft failing forward. It's an elephant.
Yeah,
of
yeah,
failing,
and
but-
that's why I was bringing
but-
more at the micro level as well. That, like, let's say there are 5 teams, right? Like, I mean, and one team invented in process of doing something that took away the need of the team 3. But I think I have often seen that what
So-
they did still.
So what really worries you? What do you see? What on the horizon? Is it what you don't know, or?
Yeah, I think, I mean, definitely. I mean, there is a big unknown. Like, I mean, if anyone even claims that they know what's even like 10 years ahead, I'll say, hey, I think they probably are at best guessing. So I don't know if that worries me per se. I think as long as we stay agile and are willing to adapt as things change, open to learn, I think the biggest skill that will be most useful in the next decade or so will be your ability to learn fast, right? And ability to evolve according to that, right? I think the more nimble we are on that, I think the better.
That was what Ed Oates, the co-founder of Oracle, said. Just be ready to learn how to learn and love learning. That's and be ready to be creative. Well, we could talk all day, and we should. We'll do a summit on AI soon, and we'll get you back.
Come join our 361 firm community of investors and thought leaders. We have a lot of events created by the community as we collaborate on investments and philanthropic interests. Join us.